Welcome back to I believe the sixth episode of Book Club. Today we will be reading chapters 26 to 30. Um yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it. I feel like everything is picking up now. Um and I'm excited, I'm nervous, but the only way we're gonna find out about what's gonna happen is by reading about it. So let's jump into it. Okay. Chapter 26. Belle awoke with a start, something hard against the inside of her cheek, a face hovering inches above her own in the morning gloom. She blinked, and so did they. Belle sputtered, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. "Hello, Sleepy," Carter said, sitting on the bed. Belle's body dragged towards the dip she made. "I thought you were frickin' Rachel." Belle clutched her chest, relocating her jumped-up heart. "Did you just poke me in the mouth?" she said, feeling around with her dried-out tongue. "You poke me all the time," Carter said, her back now turned. "Not in the mouth while you're sleeping, you freak." Belle kicked her cushion through the comforter. "I think maybe I've been a bad influence on you. I said your name twice and you didn't wake up, so I had to resort to drastic measures." "I'll show you drastic measures." Belle kicked her again, double-footed until Carter had no choice but to tumble off the bed. She stood up, holding onto the strap of her yellow backpack, the bulk of it trailing on the floor. "How was ballet yesterday?" Belle asked, gathering her static hair back into a ponytail. "Fine," Carter said sharply, cutting that off. "I thought we could hang out today. My mom's driving me crazy." Carter didn't know the true meaning of that phrase. "Thought we could bake cookies with Rachel or something," Carter continued. "Or go to the movies. Just, please, entertain me." Belle swiveled her legs, climbing out of the bed. "Me and Dad were planning to go on a hike today. You can come if you want." She picked up the hoodie lying crumpled on the floor, pulled it on. "Is he downstairs?" "I haven't seen him." Carter headed for the door. "Rachel's down there. She said she might attempt pancakes this morning." "Sounds ominous." "Belle," Carter said, elbowing her in the ribs. They walked down the stairs together, Belle pushing Carter in front, a shield as they entered the kitchen, and the sputtering sounds from the stove. "Morning, and, Belle." "Almost had it that time," Rachel said, cautiously lifting the edge of one chunky pancake, glancing back to smile at them. Rachel looked tired, darker circles under her eyes, like that lock on her door had done no good and she still wasn't sleeping. "Morning." Belle cracked the buns in her neck. She, on the other hand, had slept too hard. "Coffee's in the pot. Help yourself," Rachel said. "Carter, pancakes for you too?" "Yes, please, Rachel." Carter grinned, sitting at the table. Her smile faltered. "If that's okay." "Of course that's okay. You can even have the first batch." Rachel slid the pancakes onto a waiting plate. "Where's Dad?" Belle asked, pouring coffee into her favorite mug. Plain with a yellow B. B for Belle, not A for Anna. "Haven't seen him." Rachel turned back to the pan, pouring more mixture. "Is he in the house?" "I don't think so." Belle didn't trust her answer. "Dad?" she shouted, wandering away from the bottom of the stairs. "Dad?" she called up. Nothing. "Not here." Belle returned to the kitchen, Rachel handing her a plate with a stack of 3 pancakes, chocolate chip. Maybe he'd gone to get sandwiches for their hike. Belle sat down, pulled her phone out of her hoodie pocket. No text from Dad. Just one from Ash. "Let me know if you wanted to do anything today." She shouldn't have given him her number, and that was her mistake. Dad was right. The film crew couldn't be trusted. She took one bite, the batter turning into a thick paste in her dried-out mouth. She swallowed and stood up again, chairs screeching against the tiles. "Where are you?" Rachel began, sitting down herself. Belle didn't answer, heading for the front door, the knot in her gut making itself known, stretching and yawning. She pulled the door open, standing on the threshold, looking up and down the street, as though she could summon Dad over the horizon. He would be back from the store any second, if that's where he'd gone. The road was quiet. Too quiet. Like something was missing. There were no news vans parked outside. Not one. Had Rachel Price officially tipped the scales into old news 8 days in? Was this the beginning of the end? Belle's eyes caught on something else. Something that wasn't missing. But should have been. Dad's truck. It was right here, parked in front of the garage in his usual spot. Rachel's car tucked beside it. So he hadn't gone to the store? "Dad?" Belle called through the house again, shutting the door behind her. "Annabelle, your breakfast will get cold." Rachel's voice rang out in response. Belle wandered through, hanging in the doorway, neither in the room or out. "Doesn't make sense," she muttered, more to herself. "Dad's truck is here, but he isn't." "Eat your pancakes or I will." Carter swung her legs as she ate. "Did you see him this morning?" Belle stared at Rachel. "No." Rachel swallowed. "He must have left before I got up. Didn't hear anything." "But his truck is here." Rachel split a pancake in half. "Maybe he had plans with someone." He did have plans, Belle said. With me. We were supposed to go on a hike today. He promised. They'd both made a promise last night, and Belle was keeping hers, so where was he? She called him, gripping the phone too hard against her ear. It didn't even ring. Hello, you've reached Charlie Price, his voice cut in, gruff and pre-recorded, who is unable to take your call right now. Please leave a message after the tone. That's weird. Straight to voicemail. Belle brought up their message thread, texted, Dad, where are you? Call me back. It didn't deliver. The blue bubble of text waiting in the ether, stuck somewhere between her phone and his. And, Belle, your pancakes. Not hungry. Belle turned away. There was no room in her stomach, the knot spinning and growing, feeding itself on every bad thought and one question. Where was Dad? She sat in Dad's chair, and she waited. She tried another number. Hello, this is Bryson Otto. Gabe speaking. How can I help? Belle cleared her throat. Hi, Gabe. This is Belle Price, Charlie's daughter. Hey, Belle. How you doing? Gabe said, voice whistling through his back teeth. Just wondering if my dad's there, if he's working today. He said he'd be home today, but I can't find him. Two rattly breaths leaked out of the speaker into her ear. Your dad's not in today. He doesn't usually work weekends. Right, Belle chewed her thumb. But you've been busy. He worked late yesterday, and he's been working late all week, so I just thought, if anything, he's been leaving early. Family stuff, he said. Gabe replied, some tools clattering in the background. Wasn't in yesterday either, but hey, if I see him, I'll tell him to give you a call, okay? Yeah, thanks. Belle stared down at the phone before she hung up. Stared afterwards, too. Dad hadn't gone into work yesterday. Hadn't been working late all week, like he said, missing dinner every night. Telling Belle he was at work and telling work he was at home. So where had he been, and was he there now? Still can't get a hold of him? Rachel's voice cut in behind her, making her jump. She shook her head. Well, we could go on a hike, you, me, and Carter, Rachel said, if that's what you wanted to do today. We could do the Mascot Mine Trail. They've got barriers around up there, Carter said, standing on Belle's other side, trapping her in between. Some kids from school broke open the grate into the mine shaft. I wasn't there, she clarified, holding up her hands. You guys go ahead, Belle said, removing herself. I'm going to wait for Dad. He said he'd be home today. He'll be back. She had no reason to believe other than he had to, because Dad was the one who always came back, and Belle would wait right here for him to prove her right. Carter and Rachel played Monopoly. Belle was supposed to be playing too. She rolled the dice, but she bought no properties, happy to sit in jail for 3 turns. She tried Dad's number every 30 minutes. Voicemail, voicemail, voicemail. Her text still hadn't been delivered. Why was his phone off? He never turned his phone off. Carter left and Rachel stayed, hovering around her. I'm sure he'll be back later. She reached out, like she was about to rest her hand on Belle's shoulder. Belle jumped up before she could. I'm gonna look for him, she announced, thundering upstairs to get dressed. Belle walked past the Royalty Inn and her school, both Sunday quiet, all the way up to Bryson Auto to see if Gabe was somehow wrong. There was someone else working there too, tinkering beneath a red car, set of legs and boots. Dad? The man rolled out. It wasn't him. Sorry. She stood outside and called Jeff. Have you heard from Dad? She said when he picked up. Since last night? Hello to you too. No, I haven't. Why? He not home? Or at work, Belle said, not picking up his phone. Oh, I'm sure he's fine. Stop worrying. Which is pretty perceptive for Uncle Jeff, because Belle was worried now, heart nudging up her throat on a fast track towards panic. Where was he? Where was he? She tried every bar and coffee house in Gorham. Tried them a second time. You again. You're underage. Get out. Sent another text. Called him again. Body betraying her, soothing itself at the sound of his recorded voice. Charlie Price. Frickin' idiot. That wasn't the real him. Riling her heart up again. Dialed the landline at Grandpa's house. Asked Jordan if he'd seen him. Not since Friday night. Sorry. What was Belle going to do? She headed back towards home, just in case they'd missed each other coming and going. Ramsey was in the street outside the hotel when she passed, zipping up his jacket. Hey! A smile split his face, familiar and over-friendly. What a coincidence. Do you have a sec? No, she didn't. Sorry, can't. She barreled past. I'm looking for Dad. Why? Ramsey's voice floated after her. He disappeared? Said like a joke, but it doubled Belle over, giving shape to her worst nightmare. No, she called back. He'll be at home. He wasn't at home. She waited another hour, then 2, giving Rachel one-word answers, watching the front door and willing it to open. He'll be back for dinner, I'm sure, Rachel said, eyes fixed on Belle's hands, jangling in her lap, pressing against the knot in her stomach. Do you like salmon? At 7. Belle went to check Dad's room. The bed was unmade. That wasn't unusual. Dad often left the sheets in a bundle, telltale signs of where he'd climb out. Belle traced her fingers along his pillow, as though she could get some sense of him through the fabric. Where he'd gone after he got out of bed this morning, and what was in his head. To his closet next. She studied the hangers, some were empty, swinging when she ran her hand past. But those sweaters and shirts were probably just in the laundry basket. Something else was gone too. The khaki canvas bag Dad packed whenever they went on a weekend away. The bag was gone, not in its usual place on the floor of the closet. Wasn't any in unusual places either. It wasn't here. Frick. The knot outgrew Belle's stomach, looking for other soft places to make its home. Where was the bag? Dad couldn't have packed a bag, because that sounded like someone who wanted to leave. And Dad wouldn't do that. Dad didn't leave. Found anything? Rachel asked at the bottom of the stairs. No. Belle shrugged her off, avoiding her eyes. She went to the sideboard in the hall, where Dad kept his keys and wallet. The wallet wasn't here, but his keys, both truck and house, were. Belle picked them up to be sure, studying the keyring. A grinning photo of the two of them, at Storyland for her 12th birthday. Dad hadn't taken his truck, but wouldn't he need his house keys so he could come back home when he was ready? Belle opened the drawer of the sideboard, papers and bills. She dug her hand to the back corner where they kept their passports. There was only one here. She checked, patting her hand around the rest of the drawer. She pulled a passport out, flicking to the photo page. Annabelle Price, and her own stony face staring back. Where was Dad's passport? It should have been right here. Right here with hers. No, no, no. The knot twisted, pulling its buried deep strings. Belle's fingers twitching with it. Her heart had bulleted through panic, kicking harder and harder. Something was wrong. Something was really, really wrong. You ready for dinner? No, because she had been waiting for Dad. He didn't have his keys, so he'd need someone to let him in. Belle would wait right here by the front door to be that someone. She watched the darkening street out the window, face between the slats of the shades, eyes flickering to any sign of movement. A woman walking a dog with the green LED collar, a kid on a scooter, an older kid chasing after him, a man hurrying past, pulling at the peak of his baseball cap. Belle checked the clock on her phone. He would be back by 9 for dinner, with an easy smile and an even easier explanation of where he'd been and why his phone was off. 9 was the deadline. He had to have been back by then. But that ticked by 2. Do you want me to heat this up for you, Anna? Sorry, Belle. You should come sit down. Belle waited until 9:59 p.m. Then she unlocked her phone and called a different number. The one for Police Chief Dave Winters. The sound chimed through Belle, echoing in her empty chest, a click when he answered. Hi, it's Belle. Annabelle Price. My dad is missing. That is chapter 26. Stop. Did he... Okay. Mr. Price. Papa Price. Why is his ID gone? Like, why the passport? Is he fleeing the country? Why would he need his passport? I don't understand. Koala, that is a really good observation, though, that Rachel was not worried at all. She was like, She was like, who knows? Ah. So this is... That's crazy. So, yeah, so why is his bag gone? Why is the passport gone? Why are all the keys there, though? Did he just walk away? Did he genuinely just walk away? But also, he's not been going into work. He's actually been getting off of work early for family stuff. This is... Dude, we're just gonna have to keep reading because this is actually crazy. I don't understand why he would start leaving work early, is my question. I don't know how that ties into any of this. Like, because if he is leaving, does he have enough money to be leaving Belle? You know? Like, I don't understand. Like, don't they already have money issues? So why would he run if they're also filming this project? Chapter 27. His passport is missing too? Dave Winter eyed her across the table, tapping a pen against his notebook, flickering in and out of a beam of moving sunlight. Yes, I've checked everywhere. Belle said, breathless from explaining. But I'm trying to tell you, my dad wouldn't leave. Trust me. Something has happened to him. Something bad. And it looks like a bag has been packed? Clothes missing? His wallet? Yes. Belle held on to the word, borrowing Aunt Sherry's snakes. Hands squeezing each other, fingernails leaving half-moon imprints. But again, I'm saying he wouldn't leave me. It's completely out of character. That's what you ask, isn't it? What all the reports said about Rachel at the time? Something bad has happened and I want to file a missing persons report? You need to look for him. It's urgent. You've already left it too long. We should have done this last night. Dave Winter sighed, unclicked his pen. Annabelle, I understand this feels like an emergency to you, but as an adult, your dad has a legal right to disappear without telling his family, if that's what he wants to do. I gotta tell you, all the signs are looking like he left voluntarily. No sign of foul play. Bags packed, passport and wallet gone. Belle shook her head. Someone just wants us to think that. Why wouldn't he take his truck if he decided to leave? Dave sighed again, picking up his pen. Flicked a couple pages back. When did you last see him? 10 o'clock Saturday night, when I went to bed. Belle leaned forward, separating her hands. I don't know when he went missing. Sometime before morning. But that means it's been almost 36 hours since he was last seen. No one has heard from him, and his phone's been off the whole time. You need to start looking for him. Now. Her leg jutted against the underside of the table, just 9 days since she was last here. Talking about a reappearance, not a disappearance. Tables turning and sides shifting again. And Dave Winter still wasn't listening. I'm not sure there's anything I can do. What do you mean? Belle straightened up, locking her jaw, the knot in her gut spitting sparks. You can do exactly what you did last time one of my parents went missing. Look for him, track his phone, get search dogs, do it all. I can't justify a full investigation like that, he said, trying to be understanding, but failing. Your mom's disappearance was different. The circumstances were suspicious, and it was evident she was in danger. Your dad, a grown man, has a right to take off for a day or two if he wants. It's understandable given the circumstances. Rachel's return probably hasn't been easy on the family. Miss Nelson told me it sounded like there was a family argument at your house on Friday. She saw your dad storming off down the street. It's just stress, blowing off steam. I'm sure he'll be back in a couple of days. You're wrong. Belle slammed one fist against the table, making his note pages fan back. You've already been wrong. You said he'd probably turn up last night, and he didn't. Something bad has happened to him. The circumstances are suspicious, and he is in danger. In danger from whom? Rachel! The knot in her gut exploded, and Belle did too. Her new promise to Dad shattered and forgotten. It's something to do with Rachel. She's been back for just 1 week, and now my dad's disappeared. It's connected. It's something to do with her. Not just something. It was everything to do with her. Rachel was a liar. She'd orchestrated one disappearance, and now she'd made Dad disappear too. Belle should have worked harder, faster to find evidence and remove Rachel from their lives. No, it might be too late. Dad was already gone. The worst had already happened. The last thing he'd asked her to do was to trust Rachel, and now Rachel had taken him from her. I'm sure it is connected, Dave said. Rachel coming back after being presumed dead all this time was an unprecedented event, and the stress of knowing the man who took her is still out there. I think I'd want a break if all that happened to me. My dad didn't leave, she shouted, both fists on the table. Annabelle, you need to don't tell me to calm down. She took aim with her eyes, blinking the fire his way. You need to do your job. File the missing persons report and look for him. Dave's mouth opened silently, building up another sigh. Anger wasn't going to push him, but something else might. You owe him, Belle said darkly, lowering her voice. You owe him and you know it. You've been wrong about him before. Convinced he was the one who killed Rachel. Locked him up, made him face trial. You were wrong and you put him through hell. Here's your chance to do the right thing. You owe him. Please, help me find him. Dave's mouth stayed open, but there was a shift in his eyes and a shift in his shoulders. Okay, he said gently. His fingers drummed the table, dancing spiders. I'm going to need a written statement from you for the report. I'll need all his details. Phone number and carrier. It will take a few days to subpoena the records. I need bank details, if you have them. Papers at home. Yes, Belle said, breathless again. A new feeling, too. Hope. It was small and fragile, and she fed it to the knot in her gut. I can do that, right now. An officer will have to come out to the house and do a search, and we'll need a statement from Rachel, too. Thank you, she said, throat dry and scratchy. Eyes, too, from fitful bursts of sleep, fighting it all night, watching the door in case Rachel came for her, too. Dave stood up from the table, knocking his knuckles against it once. Don't thank me, he said, holding his notebook against his chest, eyes heavy and sad. Like you said, I owe him. Belle nodded. They all did. Belle didn't go home again until it was dark. She closed the front door, wincing at the sound of the latch, giving her away. Home, except it wasn't anymore. The air was different. It got trapped in your ears, amplifying every creak and sigh that a house was supposed to make, and the ones it wasn't. Footsteps from the living room, muffled and creeping. Rachel's head appeared around the corner, the rest of her body following, trapping Belle in the hallway. And Belle, where were you? Belle shrugged off her jacket. Jeff and Sherry's. Where were you? She shot the question back at her. Rachel's mouth twitched, sharpening her chin. After the officers finished their search here, I went to give my statement to the chief of police. Told him the last time I saw Charlie. Rachel's mouth twitched, sharpening her chin. After the officers finished their search here, I went to give my statement to the chief of police and told him the last time I saw Charlie, before I took a bath that evening. I didn't hear him leaving, but he must have, during the night. Belle took one step forward, forcing Rachel to take one back, freeing her. I thought you weren't sleeping well, she said, heading for the kitchen. Rachel tailed her. Strange you didn't hear anything, using one lie to unflip another. Belle reached for the refrigerator, pulled out the carton of apple juice Rachel had bought. Said she'd missed it while she was in that basement. He must have been quiet, Rachel said from the doorway. Must have been. Belle took a sip straight from the carton. Rachel didn't react. It'll be okay, she said instead. I promise. Belle tipped her head up and drained the carton, wiping her mouth on her sleeve. Where were you the rest of the day? Doesn't take 6 hours to give a statement. Driving around, Rachel said, to the places I thought he could be, looking for him. Belle squeezed the empty carton, caving it in. She dropped it into the trash can, on top of a red take-out coffee cup, a logo with a cartoon cow, pursed lips to blow a steaming mug. Rachel must have stopped at a coffee house while out looking for Dad. You didn't find him then? Belle spun around. Rachel had moved into the room while Belle's back was turned, feet silently tracing the floor. Both of them circling the other, pushing and pulling, getting ready. No, I didn't find him, Rachel said. I will. Belle met her eyes. I'll find him and bring him home, said as a promise, meant as a threat. Rachel blinked. Risotto for dinner. Do you like risotto? I already ate. That's chapter 27. I don't like the way the mom skirts around stuff. Koala, which is kind of what you're saying, that she keeps talking about food. Which, like, some part of me is like, oh, well, she was in a basement, so she didn't really get a lot of food, you know? But, chapter 28. The doorbell rang, a scream that split the house in two, riding along the fault lines, daring them to fail. I'll get it, Belle thundered down the stairs, claiming that side as hers. Rachel might move quieter, but she could move faster. She pulled open the front door. Dave Winter on the threshold, in his dark uniform. Annabelle! A reporter screamed from the street. Why do you think your dad has gone missing? The same one Belle told to frick off earlier, directly into his out-held microphone. The white vans came back yesterday when news broke about Charlie Price disappearing just 1 week after his wife came back from the dead. One parent in, one parent out. A revolving door family. Quite the story, seeing as now there were 7 vans on the curb, the BBC too. A source close to the family was the one who told the press. It was probably Grandma Susan. She had previously, and she was a frickin' horse fricker. Off the property, sir. Don't make me come down there, Dave shouted, hands flailing as he conducted the horde of yapping journalists. Hi, Belle said to the back of his twisted neck, flushed red. He untwisted it, mouth in a grim line. Annabelle, good, you're here. Is your mom home? I have an update. Her heart jumped, bracing against the space of her throat. Was the update a good thing, or the worst thing imaginable? Come in. She beckoned him through, wishing he would move faster, the knot spiraling in her gut, chewing off a piece of her each time. Hello, Rachel, Dave said, mouth turned up at the corners in an almost smile. Would he smile if he was here to tell them they found Dad dead? You wouldn't smile if he was dead, right? Frick. Rachel searched his face for other signs, searched Rachel's too. Did she already know what Dave was here to tell them? If Rachel had killed him, Belle would kill her. That was another promise. Do you want coffee? Or Rachel offered. What is it? Belle couldn't wait any longer. Dad had been missing almost 4 days now, straight to voicemail every time. You've reached Charlie Price, even though he was unreachable. Couple things. Dave slid his hands into his pockets. We put in a subpoena for your dad's cell phone records. Still waiting on those, but these things don't happen overnight. Dave removed one hand and dropped it by his side. But we have managed to access Charlie's bank account. And, Belle said, blocking him in, making him tell her and not Rachel. There's been activity over the last 4 days. He's withdrawn money and made some purchases. In Vermont. Vermont? Rachel said, voice climbing at the end. Dave turned to her. We're working with the state police now, using the hits to try to track him down. But this is good news. He looked at Belle for that last part, the grim line of his mouth less grim now. This means your dad is okay, that he's in Vermont to blow off steam, get some space, like we thought. He'll probably come home when he's ready. Belle stalled, mind worrying over what he just said. Dad was in Vermont? That was good news, wasn't it? Like Dave said? Much better than the worst news possible, so why was there a sinking feeling in her gut feeding on that flash of hope? Because Belle knew him best. Dad wouldn't leave her, wouldn't go to Vermont without telling her. Wouldn't have his phone off and let her worry this much. He just wouldn't do that. And maybe none of this was as simple as blowing off steam or getting space. Disappeared without a trace, except now there was a trace. In Vermont. That is good news, Rachel said quietly. But you'll keep looking for him? Belle said, not quietly. Like I said, we're working with the Vermont State Police to track him down when he next uses his card. And we're waiting on those phone records. A person's phone can tell you a lot about them. Belle's eyes followed her mind, alighting on the black rectangle on the coffee table. Not Dad's phones, but Rachel's. Dave was still talking to her. I'll keep looking for your dad, but you don't need to worry. Can stop putting up missing posters all over town, though I appreciate the help. You should probably go back to school, get back to normal. I went today, Belle replied, for one reason only. Not to be normal, but to corner Mr. Tripp, force answers out of him. He wasn't there. Off sick, apparently. Had been all week. How long could he keep that going to avoid her? I'll be in touch when we know anything more. Rachel dipped his head like he was bowing to Rachel. You let me know if those reporters outside are giving you any trouble. Thank you, Dave, Rachel said with an empty smile. I'll walk you to the door. The quiet murmur of their voices moving away into the hall. Belle didn't follow, listening to her gut and listening to her head, because sometimes they weren't on the same side. If it was a possibility that Dad had chosen to leave, that he'd gone to Vermont, then he'd done it because of Rachel, to get away from her. And maybe he wouldn't come back until Rachel was exposed as a liar and removed from the house. Maybe he was afraid of what happened last time, all those fingers pointing at him, and he'd rather run than face that again. So either way you looked at it, head or gut, the way forward was the same. Prove Rachel was lying. Find out how and why she really disappeared and reappeared 16 years later. Rachel was the way back to Dad. And if Belle couldn't get the answers from Mr. Tripp, then she'd have to get them from Rachel herself. Maybe avoiding her had been the wrong thing to do. Keeping out of the house. Barricading herself in her bedroom. Maybe it was time to shift focus. Study Rachel. Show interest. Spend time with her. Wait for her to show her hand and slip up. You know what it is they say about enemies and friends? The noise of the reporter swelled as the front door opened. Dave calling back his goodbyes. Belle looked at Rachel's phone again, unguarded. A person's phone can tell you a lot about them. Her fingers itched at her side, splaying and stretching, testing the air. Rachel had Mr. Tripp's number. They must have talked. So maybe the answers were right there, behind that glass screen. She took one step towards the phone and reached for it, then stopped, sensing a change. Rachel had appeared in the room, soundless and watching. That's good news, isn't it? Rachel said. About the bank account? I know you've been worried. Been a bit quiet and distant. Belle nodded. She was about to be the opposite of distant, closing in instead of running away. She needed to get Rachel away from her phone long enough to go through it, and she had to unlock it to do that. Lucky for her, both problems led to the same person. Hey, Rachel, she said brightly, switching on a smile. I was thinking I'd ask Carter to come around tonight and distract us, she said, when she meant just distract you. We could bake cookies or something, spend some time together, all three of us. Rachel's eyes glittered, chin pulling her mouth down into a grin. That's a great idea, Belle. I'd love to. What? Carter hissed as Belle dragged her inside. I told you to come now, not in 10 minutes. Belle let her cousin go, turning the corner into the living room, heart kicking against the cage of her ribs, echoing in her ears. Could Carter hear it too? I was in the shower. Carter gazed at her, reading her nerves as something else. He didn't say it was an emergency. Is there news about Uncle Charlie? Well, no. Yes, I'll explain later. They didn't have to be quiet, but they had to be quick. Rachel's at the store. She could be back any second. Belle had insisted they make peanut butter cookies because she knew they were out of peanut butter, and she knew Rachel would offer to go get some, for the olive branch Belle was dangling in front of her. You helped Rachel set up her new phone, right? Yeah, Carter answered, narrowing her eyes, because you were avoiding her. Do you know what her passcode is? Carter narrowed her eyes further, two suspicious slivers of whipped up blue. Why? But judging by the tight set of her mouth, she already knew why. I need you to tell me the passcode. Carter sighed, stretching her neck, eyes up to the ceiling. Belle, why? I need to look through her phone. Why do you need to look through her phone? Hovering somewhere close to annoyed. Because, Belle lowered her voice, even though Rachel wasn't in the house. It didn't feel like something that could be said loud. It belonged to whispers. I still think Rachel is lying about her disappearance, and I'm pretty sure she's the reason why my dad is now missing. Belle, sometime you have to trust your gut, Carter. I know that's what happened. I just need to prove it. And the answers might be on her phone. I need your help. For my dad. Carter hesitated, eyes circling Belle's. You've known him a lot longer than you've known Rachel, Belle continued, trying to be gentle. Trying to push but not push her away. Please? For me? Belle, I should tell you. Belle shushed her, ears pricking to a new sound. The rasp of wheels against the gravel in the driveway, the reporter stirring. Reanimating. Her alarm, her warning siren. Rachel's home, Belle hissed. Quick, Carter. She grabbed her arms. Tell me the passcode. A car door slammed. Voices shrieked like circling birds. Carter broke with another sigh, warning in her voice. It's 5678. Like when you counted music. 5678, Belle muttered, committing it to memory. Thanks, love you. Carter grumbled. One more thing, Belle spoke quickly, racing the click of Rachel's shoes to the front door. We're baking cookies. I just need you to distract her while I take her phone and look through. Belle, Carter hissed. Just keep her busy. You're good at that. Carter opened her mouth to protest, but it was too late. The sound of the front door swinging open, the rustling of grocery bags. I'm back! Rachel's voice floated through. Great, Belle replied. Carter's here, and she insisted on being head baker. She winked at Carter just as Rachel came around the corner. Flushed cheeks and a smile that reached into her eyes. Hi, Carter, she said. That's fine by me. Totally happy for you to boss me around. No bossing, Carter said. We'll work as a team. Baring her teeth with that last word, showing them to Belle. Atta girl. Carter went to help Rachel with the bags. I found a recipe online. We can use my phone, Belle said, pulling it out, unlocking it with her face. A text popped up on screen from Ash. I'm here. Belle had messaged him at the same time as Carter. Come to my house now. Bring the camera. Wait in the garage. Side door is open. Make sure reporters don't see you. To which Ash had replied, Are you going to murder me? On my way. Got it? Rachel asked. Belle glanced up. Yeah, flour, butter, peanut butter, eggs. She reeled off the rest of the ingredients, followed Rachel and Carter into the kitchen. She kept one eye on Rachel as she dumped a bag on the counter, her keys beside it. But where was her phone? Got some new flour, Rachel said. Wasn't sure how long your dad had kept the old one. Rachel patted the pockets of her trench jacket. She dipped her hand inside and pulled out her phone. Belle stopped moving, only her eyes. Rachel took one quick look at the screen, then placed the phone face down on the kitchen table. I'll just hang my jacket up. Rachel pulled it off, draping it over one arm. Belle, could you find the mixing bowl? No idea where your dad moved it to. Sure. Belle headed towards the cupboard, using it as an excuse to move closer to the table, to study the phone's position. It was halfway between Belle's usual place and Dad's, at a jaunty angle a few inches from the edge. She blinked to look at it with fresh eyes, remembering the exact spot. Carter was watching her while Rachel was out of the kitchen. Belle pressed a finger to her lips before Carter could say anything. Alexa, Rachel called back in the room, making Belle flinch. She'd only just grasped the concept, that you had to pause after the name. Or she was faking all of it. Play happy chill music. Here's a playlist for happy chill music. Belle handed her the mixing bowl. Thank you, sweetie. This was a nice idea. Belle nodded, surprised that Rachel had fallen for nice. How much butter? Carter asked, heading for the refrigerator. 1 cup. I'll leave the recipe here on my phone. Belle placed it on the counter. See, Belle would leave her own phone here with Rachel. A trade, of sorts. Her eyes flicked to the other one. She couldn't just take it. Rachel was standing right there, looking at her. If there's any leftover, girls, should I take some to your grandpa? Rachel handed a new pack of sugar to Carter. He'd like that, Carter said, wrapping her hands around the sugar, not wincing when her fingers brushed against Rachel's. Just wondering, Rachel continued, while your dad's away, Annabelle, whether I should see if Jordan needs any help with Pat. Anything I can do? Clean the house or something? Does Jordan take him out every day for a walk or something? Grandpa can't walk, Belle said, forgetting she was playing nice, adding an awkward smile to soften it. Don't worry, Jordan's got it, and Uncle Jeff can do more. But this detour into Grandpa had given Belle an idea. But it's a good idea to take cookies around. Grandpa's probably confused about where Dad is. I'll get a Tupperware. You won't know where they live. Belle opened the cupboard, Tupperware lids already slipping and sliding from their unsteady piles. She grabbed 2 containers, one clear, one dark blue, and their matching lids. Here. She carried them over to the kitchen table, placing them down in front of the phone, obscuring Rachel's line of sight to it. And just like she had hundreds of times before, with small insignificant things to feed that knot in her gut, She reached for the phone, her fingers around its cold edges. She bracketed her hand to slide it up her sleeve, all the way in until it was gone. Hand to her chest to hold it there. Got it. Rachel wasn't the only expert in disappearing. Carter gave Belle a knowing look, a half roll of her eyes. Gotta pee! Belle slipped out into the hallway. Out of sight, she transferred the phone into the back pocket of her jeans. She waited, trying to think of something, anything, that could keep her away longer than gotta pee. Belle looked around for inspiration. Could she say she felt sick? No, that wouldn't work. Rachel would want to stay close, pretend to mother her. Come on, something. Pile of his shoes by the door, hum of the reporters outside, letter on the sideboard addressed to Charlie Price because the missing still got mail. Wait, an idea. Belle grabbed the letter, making sure the address faced her, not out. She headed towards the kitchen, rearranging her face to someone without a plan. Hey, she looked from the doorway. A letter's been delivered here for Miss Nelson. Looks important and could be something medical and insurance. She pretended to study the front. I'll go drop it off now. Be back in a minute, she said, turning away before anyone could protest. Should we preheat the oven? Carter's voice rang out, bringing Rachel's attention back to her. What temperature? Rachel asked, everyone playing their role perfectly. Belle dropped the letter back where she found it and opened the front door. Reporters tumbled out of their vans, cameras and microphones and hopeful looks in their eyes. Annabelle this and Annabelle that. Belle ignored them all, down the steps and towards the garage, pulling Rachel's phone out of her back pocket, capturing her own face in the dark, unlit screen. That is chapter 28. I feel bad for Carter, having to be dragged along in Belle's plot to bring down, I guess, Carter's aunt, you know? But I don't know. I feel bad for Carter, but at the same time, like, why is she trusting this woman she hasn't met at all? Again, I think this goes back to what I said last episode, where I think Carter feels a certain way towards Rachel because Rachel's probably nicer to her than her mom. I feel like Carter has mommy issues. Hence why when someone else's mom is nice to her, she probably wishes her mom was like that. So I feel bad that she has to go along with this plot. Where's the nosy neighbor that sees everything? No, literally. I don't know if you guys did catch it, though. At the end of chapter 28, so the last chapter, or 27, when they were talking about, you know, who had walked past or anything, or when Belle was looking out for whether her dad would come home, she did say there was, like, you know, a lady with a dog, a kid, and then an older kid. But she also said that there was someone with a baseball cap hurrying past. Could we assume that is a person who has been watching their house? I don't know. Anyways, that was kind of a side note from chapter 28. I just didn't... It didn't really clock until this chapter. Chapter 29. Frank, you scared me, Ash said, clutching one hand to his strawberry-covered heart, backing into a rake, gasping and backing away from that, too. What, the reporter screaming my name didn't give you any pre-warning? Belle stepped carefully around the tarp-covered lawnmower. So, she said, cradling the phone, my dad's missing. I saw on the news. His eyes clouded, catching hers when she glanced over, like he was hurt somehow that she hadn't told him first. What happened? He asked. Went missing Saturday night. His phone is off. Looks like he packed a bag and his passport, but he didn't leave because of the stress. He wouldn't do that. She didn't pause, leaving no gap for dissent, or Ash's devil's advocate, the devil playing for Rachel's side. Rachel is behind it. I know she is, and he's in danger. We have to find the truth. We have to save my dad. He's really gone? He's gone. Her deepest fear made real in two tiny words, bottomless and cruel. Her lip quivered, a bite behind the surface of her eyes, but she held it back. Not here. Not in front of Ash. For Frick's sake. Guess the price is everything for disappearing, she said with a cynical sniff, hiding behind it. It'll be my turn soon. I'm sorry, Belle. He reached for her hand, but there was no time to hold hands. No reason it would help. Are you recording? She asked, stepping back. Should I be? Belle nodded, waiting as he flipped out the viewfinder, the beep as he pressed record, giving her a thumbs up with a spare hand. Belle held up the phone, showing the camera. Rachel's phone, she said. Ash's eyes widened. How? Belle enjoyed the look on his face. Carter's inside distracting her. We don't have much time. Have to find whatever Rachel and Mr. Tripp are hiding. He knows something. Why else would he lie? Slam the door in our faces. He's been sick off work all week. Maybe he knows what Rachel did to my dad. Maybe he helped her. Okay. Ash stretched the word across a few trailing seconds. So now you want me to capture evidence of you committing a crime. I've done worse. Belle blinked. I'd do much worse to find him. She tapped a phone screen. The background lit up. An old photo they had in a frame. Rachel with baby Belle balanced on her hip, looking at each other. A smile creeping across Rachel's younger face. It was that woman's secret Belle wanted. Pre-disappeared Rachel, as well as the older one inside the house. Belle swiped up. It tried Face ID first, the screen juddering when it didn't recognize her, prompting for the passcode instead, ringing up the keypad. Belle's thumb moved across, pressing 5, 6, 7, and 8. The phone unlocked. I'm in, she said, Ash drawing closer, pointing the camera down to record the screen. Belle pressed the green speech bubble to open all of Rachel's text conversations. An unopened message from Sherry 10 minutes ago. Can you make sure Carter is home for dinner? Thanks. Moving down the list, she saw Carter, Jeff, a few notifications about Amazon deliveries, Belle's name below those, and she was surprised to see that Rachel had entered it right. Belle, not Anna. And then bingo, Julian Tripp. Belle opened the message thread, straightening the phone so the camera could see too. She scrolled up to the start, eyes circling. The first was from Rachel last Tuesday. Hi, it's Rachel Price. I got my new phone set up, just texting everyone so they have my number. Tripp had replied 4 minutes later. Hi, Rachel. It was so nice to see you. Pretty surreal, actually. I hope you're settling back into normal life. Let me know if there's anything I can do. Would be great to meet up. We've got 16 years to catch up on. I was even married for a while. 16 years to catch up on. Ash read out from the screen. And he tells her he was married. Sounds like they weren't in contact while she disappeared, doesn't it? I guess, but... She sharpened the word into a point. He's clearly hiding something about Rachel, about her disappearance. She tried to read Rachel's response. Yes, we should catch up sometime. Pretty blunt, Ash said, like she doesn't want to see him. Mr. Tripp texted again, 2 days later, a large gray bubble. Ash read it out. Was great bumping into you at the store. Hope you figured out that lock. I don't want to bring this up again, but I really do need it back ASAP. I know things are probably complicated right now, but let me know. Ash finished, staring down at the screen through the camera. What's he talking about? What does he want back? I don't want to bring this up again, but I do really need it back. Belle read it out again, leaning on the words differently to see if the meaning was any clearer. He gave something to Rachel before she disappeared? Ash said, and now he wants it back? Belle moved on to Rachel's reply, her final message to him. Let's talk about this another time. Rachel has said one last message. Friday morning. Okay, Ash read. But it's pretty desperate. Let me know. Frick's sake, Belle groaned. This is it? Why can't people label their cryptic conversations better? How are we going to find out what they're talking about? Text him? Ash said uncertainly. We could text him now, as Rachel. He won't talk to you, but he'll talk to her. The old catfish routine. He looked at her over the camera, eyes glassy and wide, dropping for half a second to look at her mouth. Belle thought about it. No, he might take too long to reply. I have to head back soon or Rachel will think something's wrong. And then if he replies later when Rachel has the phone back, she'll know I took it and what I did. She can't know I'm onto her. There was more to say, but she didn't want to say it. Didn't want to put it into words and make it real that way. That Rachel was dangerous. That Rachel scared her. That Rachel had already taken too much, and Belle didn't want to give her a reason to take more. But Ash nodded, as though she had said all those things, and he understood. Which was stupid, really, because he didn't know her at all, and she'd wish he'd stop pretending. But he kept nodding, a new glint in his eye. No, but you can call him, he said. Are you on crack? No, listen, you'll probably punch me for saying this, but you and Rachel sound almost exactly the same. You literally have the same voice. You can call him as Rachel, pretend to be Rachel, and he won't know as long as you play it right. I can't be Rachel. Yes, you can. You can do this. He sought out her eyes in the gloom. You delete it from the call log after and Rachel will never know. There's nothing to lose if he doesn't buy it, but you only have a few minutes and you need those answers. She did need answers, for Dad, but there was no way. Scared? Ash said, pushing her, and she knew it. But she was pushed all the same. I ain't scared of anything. She unlocked the sleeping phone. I can be Rachel, she said, more to herself, as she clicked on Julian Tripp's contact info, thumb hovering over the blue call button. I'm Rachel, she whispered as she dared herself, and thought of Dad, pressing her thumb down. Calling Julian Tripp. The double ring of the dial tone against her ear. Put it on speaker, Ash hissed, steadying the camera. It'll help muffle your voice. Belle pressed it onto speakerphone. A click as she did, the dial tone cutting out. A buzzy silence in its wake. Hello, Rachel? Mr. Tripp's voice rattled from the speakers. Belle cleared her throat, watching Ash as she became Rachel, taking her cues from him. Hi, Julian. Sorry I hadn't got back to you yet. It's been a crazy few days. I don't know if you've heard about Charlie. I did hear about that, actually. I'm sorry. Any idea where he's gone? That meant they could rule Mr. Tripp out, didn't it, for having anything to do with Dad's disappearance? Ash noticed her pause, nodding her on. No, she said. I think it's just been a very stressful situation for everyone. The police think he'll come home soon. Well, then that's something, I guess, Mr. Tripp replied, and it was working. He really thought she was Rachel. So, he said, leaving a trail for her to pick up. But Belle didn't know how. She glanced at Ash, his lips parted, half formed around the word that might have been message. So, about your message, Belle said. I thought it would be better to actually talk it through. No, I understand, Mr. Tripp sniffed, and I'm sorry to ask again so soon. It's a lot of money, you know. Belle's heart thudded against her ribs, eyes snapping to Ash. Money, she mouthed. Mr. Tripp had given Rachel money before she disappeared. This changed everything. How much? Ash mouthed back, jabbing his finger towards the phone. Rachel, you okay? Mr. Tripp's voice chimed through. No, it's fine, Belle sniffed. I understand. It's been a long time. A lot has happened. I can't remember how much it was exactly. Ash screwed his eyes, and Belle crossed her fingers that she had it messed up already. It was $3,000, Rachel. Her heart abandoned her ribs for her throat. She thumbed the mute button, hand shaking. Holy frickin'! She shouted, a laugh getting in the way, breaking up her voice. Ash caught her laugh, stifling it. Keep going, he whispered, just as Mr. Tripp said. Rachel, you there? Belle unmuted it, wiped the smile off her face. Sorry, she said, but Mr. Tripp didn't let her finish. I know it's awkward and embarrassing to ask for it, but I always thought you'd pay me back when you could. Then when I thought you were dead, like everyone else. But now you're not, you know? Life hasn't been the easiest. I have medical bills to pay off. Debts. Borrowed a lot of money, too. It would really help if you could pay me back. No, sure, Belle said. I understand. Even though she didn't. Even though a tiny part of her wanted to take Rachel's side over his. A man more interested in getting his money than his old friend back from the dead. Things are a bit complicated. I've only been back a week and a half, but you'll get everything you're owed, I promise. An intake of breath down the line. Too deep, almost on the verge of tears. God, that's such a relief. Thank you. Sure. Belle bit back what she really wanted to say, what Rachel might have too. You didn't ever tell anyone about the money, did you? Ash screwed his face again, eyes and mouth. No, of course not. I didn't tell the police. I was scared they'd think I had something to do with you going missing, which I obviously didn't. Especially as I'm the one who found your car, who found Belle. But it wouldn't have helped anyway. The money had nothing to do with that man snatching you out of your car, right? Right, she said, running it over her head, her thoughts becoming Rachel's. No, it's good you never told them. Belle took a breath, stepping out onto shakier ground. When did you give me the money again? It wasn't long before, was it? That's why I kept it secret. You asked me on the Friday, and I gave the cash to you after school on Monday, when I drove you home. That was it. The moment Aunt Sherry had seen. A line being crossed. But maybe she'd read it wrong, and the reason they'd looked cozy was because one was passing a huge amount of cash to the other, their little secret. That was only 2 days before I went missing, Belle said. Ash flapped his hands and she flapped hers back, mouthing for him to shut up. Exactly, Mr. Tripp said. So, you aren't mad that I didn't tell anyone? I'm not mad, Julian. Belle pulled a face. Silence, saliva ticking around his mouth, down the other end of the phone. Rachel? The sound of her name cut through Belle. Yes? She answered to it. I know it's not really important after everything you've been through, but it's always played on my mind, the not knowing. You never told me what the money was for, only that you couldn't access your own money and you needed it. It was an emergency. He sniffed. When I gave it to you, you said I was a lifesaver, which I thought was just one of those things people would say, like a thank you, but after you disappeared, I wondered if it meant something else and that you'd been wrong, that the money hadn't saved your life. Belle stalled, searching Ash's eyes for what to say. He didn't know either, shrugging behind the camera. I can't say. Come on, Rachel, Mr. Tripp sniffed. I knew something wasn't right. You hadn't been yourself for weeks, months even. Jumpy, paranoid. Losing weight? Your clothes getting baggy? Stop coming to Wednesday wine night after school? You needed the money and you were scared. Who were you scared of, Rachel? You didn't know the man that abducted you. I always thought it was Charlie. It made sense when he was arrested for killing you. I was so concerned that Monday I put a trap. You're wrong! Belle snapped, speaking from her own gut, not Rachel's. I was not scared of Charlie. Mr. Tripp paused. Well, you were afraid of someone. Who was it? Charlie's brother? Jeff? Belle narrowed her eyes. Why would I be afraid of Uncle... She stopped herself, slapping a hand to her mouth. Ash screwed his face, one eye open, staying very still. Belle tried. I mean, I don't think... Annabelle? Is that you? The speakers rattled with his voice, a dark crackling edge to it. Belle jabbed the red button to hang up, holding the phone away from her like it was counting down to explode. Oh well, Ash said, somehow out of breath, standing still. You were bound to mess up at some point. Belle navigated into the call log, deleting the top entry to Julian Tripp, disappearing all trace of what they just did, her skin alive and electric. Do you think he'll tell Rachel? Probably not, Ash said. We just caught him. He admitted to withholding information from police so he wouldn't look suspicious. I reckon he'd want to keep this as quiet as we do. Belle felt some comfort in that we. A comfort she resented immediately, feeding it to the knot in her stomach. There was no we. Belle only had one person, and he was missing. Worth it, she said, clicking the bones in her neck. $3,000 in cash 2 days before she disappeared? That's a slam dunk, right? Enough to start a new life somewhere, isn't it? To disappear yourself? Ash's mouth twitched. We just proved it, didn't we? Belle's eyes glittered in the dark. That Rachel Price wasn't abducted. She chose to leave. She planned her own disappearance. Ash hesitated, chewed his lower lip. Not enough for the police or a court of law. I think it's actually illegal to record someone on the phone without their consent in the U.S. We'll just let Ramsey worry about that, but yeah, I think we maybe just did. A smile pulled at the edge of Belle's mouth. She gave in, shooting a wink at the camera in Ash's hands. I knew it. But we still don't know where she went, why she left, how, why she's back. We will. We have to find my dad, Belle said, tucking Rachel's phone up her sleeve. I should go. It's been too long already. Okay. His lips parted like he wanted to say more, but he stopped himself. See you later, alligator. Belle waved him off like he was anyone else, heading for the door. In a while, crocodile, Ash responded, recording her as she walked out of the garage into the low evening sun. The reporter scrambled. Annabelle, please. Annabelle, wait. She ignored them, unable to shift that smile, covering it with her other sleeve. Where's your father gone? CNN shouted. Up the steps, Belle unlocked the front door and pushed it open. A sweet vanilla smile wrapped her up as she walked through the house. Back! She hung in the kitchen doorway, watching as Rachel and Carter both turned, a similar look in their eyes and warm flush in their cheeks. Sorry, she said before anyone could ask. Miss Nelson wouldn't shut up. Lonely, I think. How are the cookies? Done, Carter said stiffly. Already in the oven. Belle shifted her face, pretending to look disappointed. Rachel smiled at her. Well, you didn't miss out on the eating part, she said. Or the cleaning up, added Carter. Belle took the hint, stepping into the room, edging towards the table. How long do they have left? She asked, hoping the right person would answer. Rachel bent to look at the timer in the oven, and Belle didn't hesitate. She straightened her arm and slid Rachel's phone out, placing it where she'd found it, shielded behind the Tupperware, rotating it to a diagonal. Belle snatched her hand away just in time. 4 minutes, Rachel said, turning back. Smells amazing already. Belle joined Carter at the sink, rolling up her sleeves. Carter shot her a look, and Belle shot one back, blinks instead of words. She heard a huff of air behind her, not quite a sigh, not quite a gasp. Just a breath that hitched halfway through. Belle turned back. Rachel was standing beside the kitchen table looking down at it, at her phone. Belle stopped breathing. Rachel's fingers trailed along the wooden surface over to her phone, and in one small movement, she spun the phone from one diagonal to the other, finger tapping beside, steadying it. Rachel glanced up without warning, catching Belle's eyes. She gave her a smile, vanilla sweet and warm. Belle smiled back, tight-lipped, without teeth. That is chapter 29. Dude, Julian gave her $3,000 cash? That's a lot of money. I'm so curious if she told him, like, hey, you're a lifesaver, like, I don't know. of all, it's just a lot of money to give someone. I feel like Julian has to have some kind of feelings toward her to give her that much money. But you don't give someone that much money unless, I mean, that's a huge favor, you know? Like, I know she told him it was life-saving, but she also told him that afterwards. I don't know what she told him for the money to begin with. Because, yeah, this is... Yeah, to give her $3,000 in one go is insane. Yeah, no, this is crazy. I'm curious if Rachel actually didn't miss her phone. Because I'm curious because she said, you know, Alexa, play some music. Was it playing off of Rachel's phone? Or Belle's phone and not Rachel's? I don't know. I'm so I'm so confused as to like, so if it's true where it seems like Julian has no idea what happened, why would he give her that money? You know? So there's that. I guess there's going to be some kind of reveal that he probably did love her at some point. But also, Julian has debts of other kind. He has medical bills, sure, that's standard. But he also has other debts. And when he opened the door the last time we saw him when we went to his house, he was like, please give me more time, or whatever. He was kind of like scared. So who is Julian messing with? He also drinks a lot. So I don't know if he has like a substance problem or something, and so he got into debt. I don't know. But where is the dad? Also, my concern with this chapter is that Aunt Sherry messaged Rachel like, hey, make sure Carter's home before dinner. But I don't know if Rachel actually, or sorry, I don't know if Belle read that message or if she just saw like the notification. Because if she read that message and then Carter doesn't go home for dinner, that might also cause another issue within the family. And I'm nervous that, you know, if Belle happens to say like, oh, Carter, you should probably go home for dinner, you know, and Rachel checks her phone after and sees that message, you know, like they are playing this very, very intense game of Twister where they're both trying to like, I don't know, they're both trying to tiptoe around each other, and it's just very, very stressful. Oh man. Okay, that being said, yeah, Idol, literally, like, why would you give that money to a coworker? That's crazy. Yeah, we'll see if he ends up, um, we'll see if he ends up telling, anyone about, I mean, he might confront Annabelle herself, right? He might confront Belle, but I don't know if he would do anything else about it. Because, yeah, if it comes out to the public, then it would, you know, he might still be facing criminal charges for lying to the police. Chapter 30. Belle stopped outside number 39, Ash's hotel room, patted down her hair, pushed up her eyebrows. The door opened before she had a chance to knock. It was Ramsay, ducking his head as he left the room. His eyes latched onto hers as the door latched shut. Hi, Belle. Hi yourself, she snapped, suddenly awkward that he'd caught her standing here. Ash told me to come over, that he's found something, she explained. Ramsay nodded, a knowing half-smile. I know, he said, to hammer the smile home. We found something we wanted to show you. He moved past her down the corridor. You aren't coming? She asked. Ramsay turned, smile on the other side now. Nah, a good filmmaker knows when he's getting in the way of his own film. He clicked his fingers at her, tiny guns made of skin as he walked away, disappearing around the corner. Belle hammered her fist against the door. It opened, barely, Ash's pale face appearing in the crack. Why do you knock like a serial killer? His floating head grumbled. Are you naked? No. His eyes tracked back and forth, confused. Open the door, then, Belle said, pushing it. She walked in, the hotel room dingy, curtains framing the evening sky. A laptop open on the desk, glowing ghostly white, small camera hooked up to it. A spiderweb of cables inside. The desk chair and the room's armchair pulled in front. You've left boxes on the bed. Belle pointed, trying to embarrass him. Ash nodded, trying not to be embarrassed. Those ones lived there, actually. He wandered back to the desk, muttering to himself. Need a fresh card for the camera. He sorted through a stack of clear plastic cases, some labeled with the red X. That's why it's important to label them, says Ramsey. Aha! He pulled one open and popped out the SD card, slotting it inside the handheld camera. Is this all the documentary footage? All the stuff I've shot, he said. Ramsey's editing the early footage for the broadcasters, but he wants to keep this stuff with you under wraps until we know what we have. I'm supposed to rotate the memory cards, remember which ones are full, which ones I've already uploaded and wiped. He pointed, fingers taking her on a tour of the untidy desk. I'll get saved onto this bad boy here. He tapped 2 fingers against an external hard drive, plugged into the laptop. Memory storage. Exciting stuff. Belle clicked her tongue. Well, I can't spend all day running around with you. Not that you'd want to, Belle said. No, you're awful company. Belle's phone vibrated in her jacket pocket, saving them from the awkward on-purpose moment. She pulled it out and gasped. It's the chief of police. About Dad. Answer it, Ash said, turning away and averting his eyes, as though that meant he couldn't listen in. Belle pressed the phone to her ear, spoke before Dave Winter could. Do you have any news? Have you found him? The line crackled with Dave's breath. Hi, Annabelle. No, we haven't found him, but we have an update. His phone records finally came through. Belle backed away, boots skidding against the rough carpet. And? Your dad made one phone call the night he went missing. In the middle of the night, actually. 3:20 a.m. The call only lasted a few seconds, but it pinged off a tower near Danville, Vermont. So that's where he was when he made the call. Who did he call? Belle said, trying not to rush him, taking everything in. He called a number belonging to a Robert Meyer, who lives just outside Barton, Vermont. I wanted to ask if you know who he is. Heard that name before? Is he a friend of your dad's? Belle searched her memories, lining them up against that name. Robert Meyer. No, I don't think I recognize it, she said, annoyed that she didn't, for Dad's sake. That's okay, Dave said. Rachel didn't recognize it either. You've spoken to Rachel? I called her first, Dave said, unaware of his betrayal, calling Rachel, letting her know that her plan was working perfectly. State police are going to talk to this Robert Meyer, see what he knows. I'll let you know if he tells us anything useful. Danville would have been on the drive to Barton, so it seems that's where your dad was heading. But how was he heading there when his truck was at home? Anything else? She said, voice slipping, clawing back up her throat. Huh? The phone records. Did he make any other calls? There was only one name she cared about, her own. For her to have been the last person Dad tried to reach, even though she had no missing calls. No, Dave said, not realizing how big that no was. Looks like he turned the phone off after making that one call. Been off since. No activity. Belle's heart sank, curdling in her gut, buddying up the knot that always lived there now. He's been gone 6 days, she said. Not a question, but a reminder of Dave's promise. What he owed Charlie Price, here on the other side of all their history. We're working on it. There's been a couple more hits on his bank card. One on Thursday, one today. So we're tracing him that way too. Won't be long, Annabelle. Okay. She hesitated to let him go. Should she tell Dave about Julian Tripp? About the $3,000? Officer Winter, you can call me Dave, sweetie. Known each other long enough. And that was long enough to change her mind. No, she shouldn't tell him. She wanted Dave to focus on finding Dad. He had the tools to do that, and she didn't. She shouldn't distract him with Rachel. It was Belle's job to take down Rachel. Her responsibility. Will you call me first with updates, not Rachel? She wants me to deal with this. She's feeling a little overwhelmed. The line crackled again. Sure, he said. Hope you two are holding up okay. Oh, they were holding up just fine. I gotta go, she said, Dave's goodbye growing faint as she pulled the phone away from her ear and pressed the red button. Who's Robert Meyer? Ash asked, facing her again. I don't know. Lives in Vermont? He was the last person Dad called the night he went missing. So your dad's in Vermont? Or that's where Rachel wants us to think he is? A text pinged up on Belle's screen. Gosh, she was Miss Frickin' Popular today. Ash, then Dave Winter, and now Carter. Can I come for a sleepover? Mom is being a nightmare again. Belle typed out a reply. Can't. Sorry. Out. She slid her phone back into her jacket pocket, stared at Ash expectantly. So, I didn't come here just to insult your hideous sweater. You said you found something? Yeah, we did, when we were editing the dinner party scene. Hold on, I should have the camera on. He flipped out the viewfinder and pressed record, snapping his fingers to the front of the lens like a makeshift clapperboard. There were books on the desk. The Woman Who Disappeared Twice on top, an old true crime book about Rachel. Ash placed the camera on the pile, pointing it back at them. You sit here. He patted the cushioned chair closest to the camera, a spew of dust as he did, floating around her. Belle sat. Ash did too, pulling his chair in too close, leaning across her to reach the laptop. He froze, her breath on his exposed neck. Belle looked at the shape of his mouth, and he looked at hers. A second dragged by. Belle's heart out of its place, beating too many times, finding his green eyes again. Oh, frick. She blinked and pulled back, leaning into her chair. Ash coughed into his fist, fiddling with the camera's position. Just in time, too. Like they'd been about to cross some unseen line. Lucky the camera was there between them, to hold that line. Because that would have been really dumb. Pointless, too. Ash would leave forever when this film was done. That was all they were to each other, subject and camera assistant. Belle shifted her chair a few inches away. His side and her side. He'd better stay out of hers. Is it about my dad? She asked instead. Ash turning back to the laptop. He clicked into a folder labeled dinner party. About Rachel? You'll see. He double-clicked on an audio file, or rather here. The on-screen arrow hovered over the play button, twitching in tandem with Ash's finger on the trackpad. I was going through audio from the dinner party to see if your dad said anything when he stormed off, if he gave any clues as to where he is now. Belle leaned forward, forgetting about her side. Did he? Ash shook his head. He said, for frick's sake, nothing else, then turned his mic pack off. But there was someone else who didn't. Someone who forgot they were wearing a hot mic, that they were being recorded. Belle blinked the question at him. Your Uncle Jeff, he answered. Jeff went to help your grandpa into the car after everyone left the table. I remember, Belle said. This is the conversation they had and what the microphone picked up. Ash pressed play. Rustling. Heavy breathing. Are you in, Dad? Jeff's gruff voice, breathless with effort. Let me get the seatbelt. I... Grandpa stuttered. Don't worry, I'll get that. More rustling. A click. Dad. Jeff's voice dropped lower, into whispers. Belle closed her eyes to focus her ears. I have to ask you something, and I need you to remember. The swish of movement, a cacophony of clothes crackling against each other. Ash paused quickly. There's no audio here, but it's too quiet to hear over the rustling. I've tried. He unpaused. A grating click at the back of a throat, the sound her grandpa made when he was searching for words. I don't know who that is, he rasped. Jeff's voice came back clearer. You do, Dad. You do know. Where was she? Where did they find her? I don't know. Dad, I need you to try. It's important. I want to go home. Grandpa said, voice frail, every syllable an effort. Where's Jordan? Jeff sighed, to scratch of fingernails against stubble. I'll go get him. You stay here, Dad. That's it. Ash stopped the file, the abrupt silence buzzing in Belle's ears. Saba took the microphone off him when he came back inside. Belle's mouth open and closed, chewing the air while she searched for words, no more luck than Grandpa. What? Was all she came up with. I know. Ash spoke low and light. I messaged you as soon as we heard it. Where was she? Belle quoted her uncle. Where did they find her? He's talking about Rachel, isn't he? She looked for confirmation in Ash's eyes. That's what we thought too. Belle thought that through, forking paths of ifs and buts, her head racing down each way and backtracking. Wait a second, she said, telling herself to. So Jeff thinks Grandpa knows something about Rachel. About where she was those 16 years and her reappearance. Where did they find her? It sounds like she had come back because someone found her. Who's they? Ash looked at her. Too much eye contact, then not enough. Seems Jeff didn't get the answers he wanted either. But why does Jeff think Grandpa knows something about Rachel? He has dementia. He doesn't know anything. Ash shrugged. Your uncle seems convinced he has the answers. You can hear the desperation in his voice. Belle chewed on that too. Well, frick. She sat back in her chair, burying her fingers in her hair. Made me wonder, Ash said, if it had anything to do with what Julian Tripp said. Rachel's comment about you're a lifesaver and that she was scared of someone. Him bringing up Jeff's name. Belle tried to sort through it all, drawing lines in her head. Rachel's scared of Jeff? Rachel planning her disappearance, taking money from Mr. Tripp so no one would suspect she left willingly? Grandpa knowing something about Rachel? Jeff knowing Grandpa knew something, but not what it was? How did any of this fit together? Whatever Jeff thinks Grandpa knows about Rachel, he's kept it to himself, and now Dad's gone. Belle set her jaw. But he won't be keeping it much longer. He's going to tell me tomorrow. Belle could do it. Get Uncle Jeff to crack. just like Sherry. Because there was something else hiding between the members of the Price family. Something Rachel's return had disturbed. Beneath the landmines, there were secrets too. That is chapter 30, and unfortunately, that is where we're gonna have to leave off. But yeah, I think I joked about it. Like, I think I said it like at the very beginning of the book. I feel like Grandpa is going to be the key to this somehow, some way. I just don't know how because he does have dementia. I'm so curious if like I don't know. So now like maybe Julian is cleared, but now Jeff isn't, cuz like why was he like, you know, Jeff, are you scared of Jeff? Like why would he bring that up? Would Rachel had talked about it at work? I don't know. It's so strange. It's so peculiar, but join us next time for the next 5 chapters of the reappearance of Rachel Price. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. I feel like last segment was very messy, and now this one is just somehow dropping even more breadcrumbs. The dad is gone. It wasn't Julian. It seems like it, but also Julian gave her money. Grandpa might know something. Rachel might be scared of the uncle. I don't know. There is way too much going on. So hopefully the next time we do book club will be we'll come back very, very soon. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. This was super fun. I've really been enjoying reading this book. We will see how it ends eventually. Yeah. Thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate you.